So good afternoon, folks. Before I get into the proper introductions, I'm going to have Scott Tildesley, one of Harwich's finest firefighters and information technologists, for some information. Scott, if you could, please.
You've just got a mute button at the bottom of your screen. I'm probably going to ask you, I'm going to mute everybody at the beginning of this, and as you're asked to participate, you can unmute yourself. If at any point all the video screens seem like they might be interrupting, I may have you turn off your webcams, but for now it's kind of nice to see everybody. So back to you, Joe.
There we go. True words were never spoken, Scott. I'll put it out there to the group. Complete reversal of where we were last evening at the Board of Selectmen. We would encourage everyone that's able to put your webcams on to please do so, because that's a big part of this effort. It is truly great to see you all. I got to say hi to Mary, Principal Oldek, as a parent, and so many of you folks. It's truly great to actually see you. So thank you all on very short notice for being part of this first and hopefully first of many throughout the crisis of the Community Leadership Forum for community leaders in and around and in support of the town of Harwich. So we are looking to create a communication channel for all of you. My notes that I had last night for the Board of Selectmen are quite simply as follows. For all of us this afternoon to have a community dialogue where everybody will be given the opportunity to ask questions, perhaps answer questions, give information updates, and receive information updates. And then I think most importantly beyond that, it would be helpful if you all could then establish communication channels with your direct constituencies. As I mentioned, we'll be looking to do this as regularly as weekly, and more if we think that's proper and appropriate for what we need. So let me officially begin by saying good afternoon. My name is Joe Powers, and I am the interim town administrator for the town of Harwich. And we have representatives this afternoon from broad sectors across the community. We have representatives from government, healthcare, the business community, education, community outreach, nonprofit groups, and the media. And this is a collection of individuals that all, in sum total, create our community. So what I'd like to do now is recognize my boss and the chairman of the Harwich Board of Selectmen, Larry Ballantyne, for some remarks. Chairman Ballantyne.
Thank you, Joe. Welcome to this community forum. I really want to express my appreciation for Joe and his team. I see Megan there, Scott. I see Chief Clark is on the line. This has really put a strain, of course, on public safety officials. As we know, anytime when there's a lot of concern, the more we can communicate and keep people informed, the better off it is. Our goal is, I think, to share information amongst us all, to look for updates, learning experiences. And my final thought is, as we're learning quickly, the more anything we can do to help calm the waters and keep focused to move ahead, the stronger we will be. So I'll stop there and turn it back to Joe. But again, welcome.
Larry, thank you very much. I can see some folks directly. I know we have about 10 or 12 individuals that are identified as caller only. So if I miss somebody that I should have recognized, I will apologize in advance and to defer. But I want to start next. We're very fortunate to have Pat Johnson joining us this afternoon. He is representing Senator Julian Sayre. And you'll hear me, and I'm sure many of my colleagues in municipal government, we are immensely grateful to Senator Sayre, Representative Peake, Congressman Keating, and everyone in state and federal government that support Cape Cod, because their efforts this past week have been phenomenal. So Pat, we'd like to welcome you, and any remarks you'd like to offer, please.
Well, thank you, Joe. Hope you all can hear me. I think this obviously is an unprecedented time, but the thing that's been the silver lining is how all of the entities and healthcare and government, local community leaders have come together during this really challenging past week. It's hard to even know how long it's been, but just a couple of things. Senator Sear, first and foremost, is working very closely with his Senate colleagues. He's part of a working group that Senate President Spilka has convened to look at the whole host of issues that needs to be addressed by the legislature, emergency authority, waivers of various things that need to be done. We're also working very closely with Governor Baker and his administration. And obviously, Governor Baker has already done quite a bit through executive order and has quite a bit of authority given the emergency declaration that he's put in place. Our particular focus in Senator Sear's office is on protecting older adults, skilled nursing facilities, nursing homes, rest homes, and being really thoughtful of working with the home care agencies, protecting older adults that are receive services in their homes. So we've been working very closely with the Executive Office of Elder Affairs on that, and the Executive Office of Health and Human Services, Department of Public Health, and others. Especially with locally, main person we've been working with is Bill Bogdanovich, who is the CEO of Broadreach Healthcare. He and his team are well prepared for what's going on, what's to come, and protecting the residents that they serve. Lastly is there's going to be some movement on Monday, as Joe knows from an email that Senator Sear sent last night, on a whole host of further actions to help continuity of government for municipal governments, county government, etc. There's already an executive order the governor made on being able to make some suspensions to the open meeting law to allow public bodies to use remote participation to convene meetings in forums like this. On Monday, it looks like the legislature hopefully will pass two bills, possibly one on postponing election dates, and then the second bill, particularly that would be for municipal elections. It also looks like the special election in the Falmouth, Plymouth area for a state Senate race is going to be suspended. And then there's going to be some further actions on the ability for select boards to delay town meetings further into the spring and summer if needed, and a number of other matters. So please continue to send us feedback, and we appreciate the time and being included in today's call.
Let people know what's happening in the community or something like that. So,
Pat, thank you. Appreciate that update. Folks, we just ask that as much as possible you remain on mute mode until we can open it up to the group. Two other things I neglected to mention, and I do sincerely apologize, because it's comforting that we're also joined by representatives from several of our faith-based organizations in Harwich. So again, we have broad representation across many sectors that impact upon the town of Harwich. For the last few days, I have been situated in the town of Harwich's Emergency Operations Center, experiencing social distancing for the first few days. Me all by myself in a big room, but mercifully, I was recently joined by my colleague in government, and that's her heads up that I'm now going to ask our Public Health Director for the town of Harwich, Megan Eldridge, to offer any information that she feels appropriate. Megan?
Hi, everybody. As you know, we had our first positive yesterday in Harwich, and that set off a whole slew of information sharing through our website and online Facebook pages and social media. We are dedicated to giving out the most pressing information while maintaining all of our privacy laws. I know that we will have more cases in the future, in the near future, I'm assuming, and that brings a lot of questions for people. I'm happy to answer any questions about surveillance and how we do contact tracing and how we keep the public at large safe during this time. 3 new cases over the Cape popped up yesterday, so us and 2 others somewhere on Cape, so that brings the total to 5 in Barnstable County. Cape Cod Healthcare has been working really, really hard to keep up with the testing requirements and requests. They are doing an amazing job trying to keep everybody safe as well. So I have my knowledge to share if anybody wants to ask questions throughout all of this.
Thanks, Megan. What I'd like to do at this point is just go through the list that I have of the sectors that are represented. I know there are other folks from government beyond Chairman Ballantyne. If those government individuals would like to identify themselves and ask questions, answer questions, give updates, or receive updates, I'm going to now open it up to the government sector, please.
Hi, I'll go first. This is Elizabeth Harder, the Harwich delegate to Barnstable County Assembly of Delegates. Mainly, I'm just here to listen to everyone, find out what your needs are, and if there's any way that we can help on the county level. Thank you.
Oh, okay. So
Thank you, Elizabeth. Great to have you on the call. Anybody else from government?
Hey, I'm Kathleen. I'm from Congressman Keating's office, and I'm just here to listen and see what we can do to help our constituents.
That's fantastic. Kathleen, thank you very much for joining us, and certainly thanks to Congressman Keating for having you available to us as a resource. Anybody else from the government sector?
So this is Christine Menard from the pantry.
Hi, Christine. How are you?
I'm good. Just want to let you know I was here. Didn't mean to interrupt.
No interruption whatsoever. We're going to be looking forward to hearing from you when we get to our community organizations. Great to have you on the call. At this point, I'll then go to anyone else from the healthcare sector. If you're here from healthcare, if you would like to weigh in, please go ahead.
Hi, this is Pat Nato from Out-of-State Health Services. Can you hear me?
We can, Pat.
Yeah.
Great to have you. Go right ahead, please.
No, thank you. I think that just to give an update, we are maintaining our open hours. We are transitioning quite a few of our visits. Our patients are very pleased to have the option to having a telephone visit with our providers, to be able to stay home but still be able to touch base with their doctors. And we will be continuing on with this operation through the next many weeks. Hopefully it won't be that many, but we are prepared for that. I know that the media has a whole lot out there about the stress related to personal protective equipment and testing materials. We are challenged with both of those as well. We're not immune to that. We do have a lot of agencies out there right now trying to help us out, so I just want to give the community that. We do have a those supplies operation for a while without punishment, okay?
Our leadership forum on Friday.
Thank you for that update, Pat. Anybody else from healthcare that wants to weigh in?
Representatives in Harwich and across the Cape or something like that. They talked about ways that they're helping.
Again, folks, we would just ask if you're not speaking directly on the call, if you could put your
their organizations as they're dealing with the virus.
Your audio on mute, please. Anyone else from the healthcare sector?
A couple different things from here.
All right, what I'd like to do now is this is an opportunity for me to offer the first of many thanks to folks that were instrumental in putting this forum together, no less than our executive director of the Harwich Chamber of Commerce. Cindy, thank you for your efforts in putting this together, and I would look to you to start the conversation on behalf of the business sector.
Good afternoon, Joe. Thank you for that, and I'm happy to be here. As many of you have noticed over the last few days, the chamber is using our Facebook page to be updating everyone. The restaurants currently are still doing takeout, and our businesses that are open are continuing to stay open. There is shopping available online for anyone. One thing that we do ask is that everyone does continue the social distancing, and if you do need anything from any of those businesses, use their online stores. But everything is going to continue being updated on our Facebook as well as our website. So as things become available, they will be updated there. Did you all hear me okay?
I heard you. So,
Joe, we can't hear you, Joe.
Great, glad to
Sorry
hear
about that. My technical advisor just advised. Cindy, thank you for that update. Is there anyone else that would be updating from the business community? And again, we're going to have several other sectors, but looking more for business advocacy that's on the line. All right, next we have several representatives from education. I know we have Superintendent Sanborn from Cape Cod Regional Vocational Technical High School on, and at least two other principals. So Superintendent Sanborn, if you'd like to start us off on the education sector.
Joe, the reason to interrupt, this is Scott. I've been muting some of the callers that weren't identified just to get rid of some of the background noise. So Mr. Sanborn or whoever else might be muted, if you're just on a telephone, you can use *6 to unmute yourself.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So we're closed to April 6th to open on the 7th. I'm not very confident in that, but that's the official word. Just got off a conference call from the commissioner dealing with a myriad of education issues. And I personally want to thank Megan and her team at the Board of Health. They've been very helpful, you know, in the short time that this has been going on. The Board of Health has been fantastic. That's all I have.
Thank you, Bob. I think I saw Principal Burkhead from Monomoy Regional High School on the call. Principal Burkhead, if you want to weigh in.
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the invite in this important meeting. On behalf of the schools, I don't see Dr. Carpenter. He may chime in at some point, but we feel very confident and prepared. About 3 weeks ago, Dr. Carpenter had brought us together, understanding the possibility that schools may close at some point. We're fortunate enough with the support of our great towns to have one-to-one computing for all our students. So they're used to using their Chromebooks educationally. And so we started to put together a plan where we transition to online. This week we've been training the teachers virtually at all school levels. The parents have been notified. We have resources and information through Dr. Carpenter's notifications on our website, which is pretty thorough. And we'll be rolling that out Monday. It's the first time we've ever done it. I think we're all in unprecedented territory here, and it will be, it's quote Dr. Carpenter, messy, but something we need to do. The education must continue, and I think we're in a really good spot. One of the things that I think we're proud of is just the kind of like this, the Google Meetups with our teachers and our students, just getting some FaceTime to check in socially and emotionally for our kids and their families to know that we care about them, we're keeping track of them. And what we'll make sure we do is to take attendance that way and make sure our kids are kind of checking in with us and doing the work at their own pace. And that as an administrative team and counseling team that we're supporting those families as well through verbal contact or through chats online. Thank you.
Joe, if I may ask.
Thank you, Principal Burkhead. Yep.
Joe,
go ahead, Larry.
Can I ask a question of Bill? I know the school is stepping
Certainly.
up to provide lunches and meals for kids during this downtime. Could you expand on that? And then, Joel, I'd also ask our Council on Aging and those folks how they're handling Meals on Wheels for other people in town as well. Give an update on that.
So Larry, if I may, this is a perfect opportunity to introduce Dr. Carpenter, who was able to join for an update on the schools. I will tell you that Council on Aging update, I will try to get that out to the group, but Harwich employee staff is not present because they're actively working their operations. We have been working internally to support that program, but I can give a broader update and share with the group later on. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Carpenter from the Monomoy Regional School System.
Yeah, Larry, great question. So we are prepared if we need to deliver food to homes. We have, as you know, we have our own buses. We have started today a grab and go service where any child can come to Monomoy and pick up a lunch and a breakfast. We'll be monitoring how many of those we're giving out. I'm a little concerned just watching the stats on grab and go breakfasts that are happening in other communities that that we're not going to be reaching all of the families that we need. So we're going to be trying to communicate out to those families to figure out, are you getting it at some other location or not? We have about 46% of Monomoy students are on free and reduced lunch. And that's about 850 children at 724 different households. And I'm also very realistic that given how this has very quickly impacted the economics for families, that what represents free and reduced lunch 2 weeks ago likely doesn't represent who needs the support now.
Dr. Carpenter, thanks for that update. Larry, did you want to ask a follow-up question of Dr. Carpenter?
No, he answered it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Scott. Scott, was there more you wanted to add, or?
Yeah, I was just going to say, so if we see that there are families that have need, I intend to start sending out our buses. We actually we were planning for this contingency prior to going into this, so we actually have a bus route. Actually, it's 4 bus routes that we have mapped out to get to all those 724 households. So so when the time comes, if we need, we're going to be bringing in the bus drivers, and I may be reaching out to some community volunteers for runners to go from the bus door to doorsteps, and we'll deliver meals the way the milkman used to come to the house in the old days.
For those of us who remember the milkman, it wasn't that long ago, but thank you, Dr. Carpenter. Before I recognize another educational expert and community leader in Mary Oldak, I'm not sure if Principal Wilson was able to join the call, but I just want to put out there as a parent of a middle school student, and I want you folks to know the kind of efforts they're doing. He sends out a daily morning update, and I assume it's similar to what they do regularly for announcements. He still recognizes the students that have birthdays on a particular day, and it's just little touches like that, I think, that are going to save our sanity and restore our faith, if you will. Mary, not to put too much of a burden on you for an update based on that, but love to hear from Principal Oldak from Harwich Elementary, please.
Sure. Thank you so much. We have time right now from 12 to 6 o'clock for families to come in and retrieve any personal items that the children might have left behind, such as coats or instruments. And we also have about 50 Chromebooks all set up and assigned to students. Most of those are going to our students who have free and reduced lunch, who don't have access to a device at home. And we also have a few classrooms doing pickup of materials, for example, our kindergartners who require more hands-on materials. So I'm very proud of our staff, incredibly thankful for our families. Everyone has been so collaborative and supportive this week. We are launching distance learning on Monday, as Bill said, and for our kindergarten, preschool through fourth graders, for most of them, it's a very new learning environment, unlike our middle schoolers and high schoolers who are used to that. So it's an exciting time. It's a time that everyone's learning and growing, and we're priding ourselves on the daily contact that our children are going to have through Google Meet and with their teachers, classmates, and the grade level teams are working together so that for example, every second grader in Monomoy is receiving the same daily learning plan as every other second grader in the district. And we've had 2 professional development days yesterday and today for teachers to learn about the Google suite of tools, and we're getting up and going, and we'll be live Monday morning. So it's very exciting, and it's definitely been a time where we're seeing the best in people. It's really bringing out all that our community has to give and support for our kids, and thank you for that.
Thank you, Mary. That was a great update. Is there anybody else from the education sector that I haven't identified that wishes to weigh in, please?
Joe, if I could just weigh in for a quick sec.
Go ahead, Scott.
So one thing I want to emphasize to everybody out there, I see Alan's on there, and to our select board is I can't say enough about our Monomoy staff. One of the things that I shared with my admin team as we were having these conversations, probably started 3 weeks ago, is I told people we need to be ready, looking at what's been happening overseas, that this is going to be the long haul. And then I had one non-negotiable, and that's that every child has the opportunity to have a face-to-face connection with their teacher, with every teacher every day. And we've come up with a plan. I'll be emailing it out to parents. The staff have already gotten it yesterday. So we have a schedule where they can get into face-to-face environments with their teacher every day, and just be prepared to ride this out as long as we have to. But the one thing that we're really great at Monomoy is being connected to our students and our families, and we're going to do our best to maintain that even under these challenging times. And I think that's really what has differentiated how we're rolling something out compared to almost any other school district out there in the state.
Thank you, Dr. Carpenter. Anyone else from the education sector? Okay, next up I see we have community outreach, and I'm going to take the liberty of saying, Christine Menard, that's you. So if you want to lead it, go right ahead, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. So the family pantry is, pleased to say, still up and running. We have changed our operation a little bit. It is posted on our website at thefamilypantry.com. We would encourage everyone, if you're wondering what we're doing, to please visit there. It's on the front page of the website. We are no longer allowing clients inside the building to try to maintain that social distance between the volunteers and the clients and the volunteers. So we have a tent that is been erected outside of the building that they now come to the tent, and they are actually shopping off of a grocery list, of which then they turn the grocery list into us, and then we shop for the groceries, bring them out to the curb, and they pick it up at the curb. We've been doing this since, we've done it all this week. We're expecting a very heavy day tomorrow. Our hours are the same. We're hanging in there so far with the number of volunteers that we have. They've been wonderful. So we're in business. We have the food supply is looking very good. I'm in contact with the Greater Boston Food Bank virtually every day. There's no compromise to the supply chain as it stands right now. The only thing that would get us, put us in a position to have to close is if we get to the point that we can't, we don't have enough volunteers. So far, so good. People are asking how to volunteer. Please, if you've got people asking on any front, send them to our website. There's a tab at the top. They can put in their application there. As I said, the hours are the same, and they are posted on the website. We are still taking donations for food and for clothing. I will also mention, though, that our Second Glance thrift shop is closed so that we can really focus on the food operation. We have also closed the clothing side of our operation. Again, that's to redeploy people to the food operation. So far, so good. We're open tomorrow from 10 to 12, and then we're back at it next week. So we made it through this week. One down, many to go.
Amen. And thank you for that update, and thank you for the critical mission of the pantry. Anyone else from... Sorry, go right ahead.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else that comes under the community outreach and support sector?
Hi, this is Lisa Guyon from We Can. Just thank you for inviting us to the call. We are up and running virtually. Our programs focused on legal, employment, and financial empowerment support for families. Per usual, people can call through our line, and we are providing all of those services through Zoom and through conference call lines for the time being. Thank you.
Lisa, thanks for joining. Thanks for that update. Anyone else from the community support, community outreach sector? Okay, next sector I have is nonprofit organizations. Anyone from the nonprofit sector? All right, Alan, I'm going to skip right over media for a moment to defer to faith-based organizations. I bet you wouldn't mind in that regard. Reverend Arakawa, I see you here and others. So Reverend, if you'd like to weigh in, we'd love to hear from you. We still have you on mute, I think.
I can't hear her, Joe and Scott. I don't hear.
Diane, it looks like you must be on mute. You could try *6 to unmute yourself.
Is this better?
Thank
you. Yes, thank you. Just wanted to thank everyone for being here today. And as you know, we're located in the center of town, and this crisis has deeply affected us as it has all of you. We serve a broad spectrum of people, from the very young to the very elderly, and so we are particularly concerned about our older adults, have had to revise, as Christian will say, how we visit them in our residential and nursing homes as well, and how we deliver our sacraments to them. We have pretty much shut down our plant. I mean, some of our members still have to come and go, but last Sunday we did not offer our usual worship at 10:30 a.m., which was a great change for us, but are communicating via other electronic platforms and are looking to other means like Zoom or live streaming to go forward. Not sure about Easter.
I just read about the CDC saying last night that clergy are not supposed to offer funerals except through live streaming. And so I will be in dialogue with my United Church of Christ denominational colleagues about what that will mean, because that certainly will delay services or alter the types of services that we offer for end of life. I think most especially as a church community, we're concerned about the least of these. And we all know, as we heard from the food pantry and the schools and serving breakfast, that as we take care of ourselves, there are certainly others who we may not see on the surface who are of deep concern. And so we welcome your invitations to collaborate at a social distance to help each other, as at the food pantry. As you may know, we had to shut down our thrift shop, which is open about 4 days a week. And so we don't know what the effect of that will be. But if the food pantry can do it, maybe we can do a drive-through thrift shop or something like that, and be creative. But this is forcing us to be open-minded, collaborative, and innovative. And to that extent, I look forward to continuing to work with you.
Thank you, Reverend. And
Thank you, Joe.
Any efforts that you folks are thinking of, if there's any guidance that you need. I know I'm overtaxing her already, but I can rely upon Megan Eldridge and her staff to offer guidance in support of those programs while honoring all of the requirements of the governor's orders and what have you. I know there are several other folks from the faith-based communities, and I'm trying to cheat and not look like I'm cheating, but I see Pastor Axelgard, if you'd like to update us next, please.
Sure. Yeah, thanks for inviting me to be part of this. I'm relatively new to the Cape here at the end of 2018. So I don't know any of you, but hopefully we'll run across each other one of these days. We've canceled our services as we've been directed to do, and so we're just striving at this point to ask the question: what does faithfulness to the Lord look like in terms of ministering to one another and others as we have opportunities? And so we have a pretty elderly congregation, and so the technological means of gathering, kind of like what we're doing right now, aren't really a viable option in terms of those who have the ability to utilize them. But they all have phones, so I can call, and that should be good enough for now. But we don't plan to gather until it's deemed appropriate to do so. I know a lot of people I've talked to have thrown out ideas of having multiple services that are under the threshold, of 25 or 10 people or whatever the number is tomorrow. But we've decided just to opt out of that, to kind of obey the spirit of the guideline rather than the letter, just to avoid gathering. So that's about it. Yeah, like I said, thanks for letting me be a part of this meeting. And if y'all have any questions or anything like that, you can email me. My contact information is on our website.
Sorry, I hope you can all see my eye roll when I keep my own thing on mute. Sorry about that. Pastor Robbins, if you'd like to weigh in, we'd love to hear from you.
Pastor Robbins, we're having a difficult time hearing you, so I'm not sure if you've got your phone going and your computer. It looks like you're unmuted, but we're not hearing you.
Pastor Robbins, we'll come back, clear up those technical difficulties that we're having. Go now to co-pastors Christian and Tiffany. I'm going to say Pollock. I hope I've said that right, but Christian and Tiffany, if you'd like to weigh in, we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you, Joe. We're on 137 at St. Peter's Lutheran Church. I'll be brief. As Diane mentioned, we too are moving to various meetings through Zoom or GoToMeeting, staying in touch and trying to keep the community, though physically distanced, socially connected through everything from old-fashioned phone calls to emails to church YouTube channel. We do have a small food pantry that is a satellite for Lower Cape Outreach Council, and they've pretty much directed everybody to their offices in Orleans. I think our coordinator for that food pantry has been working with them about the possibility of servicing Harwich residents. And if so, she would be doing, they'd be brought out, the food would be brought out to people in the parking lot at their cars. Again, not having the traffic coming into the building, but we're following the guidelines there for Lower Cape Outreach Council. And otherwise, we're trying to offer moral and spiritual support and keep the community, faith community and the larger community in our prayers, and keep our sign being changed, offering some humor and encouragement to everyone still driving by. Thank you.
And thank you for that humor. I enjoy driving by, seeing what the daily message is. So certainly, please keep at it. Certainly lift spirits. Pastor Robbins, we'll try again if you'd like. Can't happen. Sorry about that. We'll figure it out for our next call. Anyone else from the faith-based community that I haven't recognized?
Joe, this is Mary from Harwich Elementary. I'm going to have to drop off now. We have families who need assistance getting items in the school. But thank you very much. I look forward to other updates as we continue to have the meetings.
Mary, we understand. Thank you, and we'll be in touch for our next effort. Good luck. Take care. Anyone from faith-based communities that
I'm
looking
sorry.
to weigh in?
I'm sorry to interrupt. It's Bill Burkett. I'll have to cut out as well. We're getting a good filing in of students and parents picking up their belongings and assignments, so I'm going to have to go out and greet them. So thank you very much, and stay in touch, and I'll be at the next meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Take care. Good luck. Any other faith-based communities? All right, now I look to a representative from the Fourth Estate, Alan. The floor is yours on behalf of media, and we'll see if there's anyone else from your industry on, but please go right ahead.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Yes, good thing. Okay, well, first of all, congratulations for holding this forum. It's a great idea. Communication obviously is key at a time like this. There's no question about that. And providing that kind of timely, reliable, trustworthy information to people is a public safety matter at a time like this. And so the Chronicle obviously is glad to be able to play a role there for certain. Our partnership, I think, particularly with Megan, is going to be really key to make sure we continue, providing that the data end of things as kind of smoothly as we can. So we appreciate that partnership. As this situation evolves over time, as we all know it will, experience shows us that rumor control is going to be important. And there's a lot of good information out there that's on social media right now, but there's also some misinformation as well. So from our perspective, it makes a lot of sense to at least provide, a place where people can go for information that's been screened and vetted and hopefully comes from reliable sources. So I'd urge you to consider that. As each of you are sharing your messaging, that's a role that we really need to play during this whole thing. And one last thing that I would say is that we're already seeing evidence of so many really positive stories coming out of this, otherwise frightening time. And I would urge you all to share those stories with us, because it's important to us to be able to share that with our readers. If we continue to have a newspaper every week that's filled with scary stuff, we're not serving the public interest as well as we can. If we can also share information about things that are happening in the community that bring people together. So I'd urge you to share that information with us as well. And again, thank you for having this meeting.
Alan, thank you very much. Excellent remarks and great perspective, and appreciate your input in that regard. Anyone else from the media sector? And then anyone else that is here that I did not identify by an appropriate sector title?
I don't know if this is appropriate for my time, Joe, Chief Clark here.
Chief Clark, it's always appropriate to hear from our fire chief. The floor is yours, sir.
Well, first and foremost, I'm rather impressed with myself that I can see myself on my phone. That's impressive. We're good. If I can figure this out, folks, we're all going to be fine. To Alan's point, accurate information is very, very crucial. I guess the message I want to put out to everyone, and when I say everyone, I mean everyone, that we're going to be okay. Your public safety people are on this. We're going to have to pace ourselves as well. We're humans. We have families. But we got this. I ask everyone in the community to help us help you, which means this is very serious, ladies and gentlemen. And I just want to tell everybody, if we simply do what we've been asked to do by our great people like Megan Eldridge and folks from higher up the food chain from the CDC, is social distancing, wash your hands, and if you don't have to go out, don't. But we also need to understand it's best that we live our lives the best we can. But if we just simply follow some very, very basic rules, you will be helping your police and your fire do their jobs. It's really important that you help us because we are here to help you, but we have to stay healthy. A simple thing, people are so generous. They like to bring things into the fire and police stations. I'll just say both in Harwich and Chatham, I can speak for both those communities. We work very closely together, but right now it might not be appropriate to do that. We have essentially a lockdown here at the public safety facility. We take temperatures of every employee, including myself, that comes in during the day, and it's done twice a day. That's just to maintain health and safety. That's all that is. So we're not keeping people out. What we're trying to do is maintain a real high level of health security so that we may continue to serve you as we always have, and we absolutely will continue to do that. But please, to all the folks that are here today, and this is terrific, Joe, and I commend the selectmen for their leadership on this as well. Please just let people know we're all going to be okay, but follow the very simple rules of distancing from each other and simple hand washing. The other thing too, I know that there's a bit of a panic out there with shopping. Only buy what you need. For the folks that there's a lot of folks that need the paper goods and canned goods. We're not the Stop and Shop. I go out there every day and speak to the manager out there. He's got this under control, and they're going to help us through this, but it's very difficult when folks overbuy, and it's not necessary. So just I want to instill some calm into the community. We live in a really great place, and we live in a really great town. We're here to protect you and keep you safe. Again, I'm going to repeat, help us help you, in that we need to follow some very basic rules. And I'm available virtually 24/7 through the website or through Facebook or through my cell phone. So we're here to help you. And Joe, that's all I have to say. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask.
Thank you, Chief. As always, well said. Is there anyone else from that hasn't had a chance to speak that wants to weigh in?
Hey, Joe, this is Chief Gilmet.
Chief, good to hear from you. Please go right ahead.
I just want to echo Chief Clark's comments. This is definitely a very unprecedented time for both police, fire, and public health, but we are up and running. We're in full operation as far as emergency response goes, and I just want all the community leaders to understand that, the police department is still operating the same we did before all this stuff happened. So the 911 lines are up, business lines are up. We did make some adjustments on the admin side as far as records requests, and as Chief Clark alluded to, entering the building. But other than that, if you have an emergency, if you have an issue, call our dispatch, call our business line, and we will respond.
Thank you, Chief Gilmet. Appreciate that. Before we go further, I want to take this opportunity, because it often happens at the end of meetings or calls and people miss it. But I want to offer some thanks beyond what I said earlier. Beyond Cindy Williams at the Harwich Chamber of Commerce, I'd like to thank Jamie Goodwin, station manager of Channel 18, for broadcasting this or it for broadcast. Obviously, the gentleman in the square to my stage left or right, I think that is Scott Tilsley, for his continuous and unflagging efforts to educate many of you municipal officials on the wonders of internet-based meetings. I also want to thank Anita Doucette, our town clerk, who spearheaded the invitation process and allowed us to use the great resources of Mary Maslowski. So I'd be remiss if I didn't offer thanks to those folks. Is there anyone else that wants an opportunity to weigh in before we close out the call? I did promise our station manager that I tried to keep it to under an hour for program purposes. Anyone else? Well, I'd then like to close out the way I spoke last evening at the Selectmen's meeting. I said that one of the unfortunate effects of this virus is that in a country based on freedoms, we've been deprived of the free assembly. And then Chief Clark reminded me this morning that we haven't been deprived of it. We just need to do it differently. And so I thank you all for participating today to use this as an opportunity to still use our freedom of assembly. And I thank you all as community leaders for what you've done and what we will all do together to get through this crisis. I would ask anybody that is looking to broaden this invitation list to let me or any public official in the town of Harwich know. I think we should try to do this on a weekly basis, so I'll look to be doing an invitation for next Friday, unless the situation warrants sooner. But in the meantime, I want to thank everybody for your participation. I want to wish you well and stay well for you and your families as you stay engaged in our community. So thank you all very much, folks. I think this will conclude our first Community Leadership Forum. Take care.
Thank you, Joe.
This conference is no longer